Hello Chabbits and welcome to another Board Games Everybody Should ... It's a video series where I will show you how a game plays, I will give you a review pointing out the pros and cons of the game before telling you if it's my cup of tea and then leaving it over to you to decide if it's a game that you should go and spend your hard-earned bucks on. Money, dollars, wonga, cash. In this video, I'm going to be looking at this game called King and Assassins. It's a two-player only game where one player is playing a triumphant king coming back from a glorious battle, trying to get home to his castle so he can put his feet up and have a nice cup of tea, where the other player is playing his not so devoted people of his kingdom. And some of them are assassins and they're trying to get rid of their king and hopefully get a better king in their place. So, as I said, in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up and play this game before going into a review. So, without further ado, let's clear the court. The first thing you're going to do between yourself and the other player is decide who is going to be the king player and who is going to be the assassins. Now, if you're the king player, you will take the king reference sheet, the king damage token, the king player and all his knights, and a deck of action cards. Whereas if you're the assassin player, you will take the 3 assassins, the crowd of people, plus a deck of cards which represent each of these people. And then you're going to need to decide which side of the board you're going to play with. There are 2 different variants. There's this board here which has 1 starting place for the king and 2 exiting places for the king. Whereas on the other side, this one has 1 exit for the king but 2 possible starting places for the king. The 2 different sides have 2 slightly different setups. For example, on this side, side B, where there is 2 entrances for the king but only 1 exit, the assassin player will choose who his assassins are before the king places his king on a starting place, which makes sense. There is also 1 card removed which has a little red dot on it. But on side A, you play with all the cards and the assassin player chooses who his assassins are going to be just before gameplay starts. So sticking with side A, the king player will place his king in the 1 starting place and then place his knights out on all the dotted spaces around the board. Some of these spaces are scattered around the king and some of them are on the roof near the exit points. The assassin player will place out his peasants all over the board on the X spaces. Again, some of these spaces will be in the streets and some of these will be on the rooftops. The king player will take the round deck and if playing with side B of the board, remove this card with the little red dot in the corner and put that back into the box. But otherwise, if you're playing with side A, you shuffle all these cards and then you place this deck next to the board. The assassin player will take his deck of cards with all his characters. He will secretly choose 3 of these characters to be his 3 assassins. He will place these cards in secret next to the board so he knows who his assassins are. The rest of the cards will go back into the box. We are now ready to play. The king player will take the top card from the round deck and turn it over. This card has information for the king player and the assassin player. As you can see from this card, the king player has 2 action points that he can give to his king, 7 action points that he can give to his knights, and then the assassin player has 5 action points that he can give to his characters. Each round will start with the king moving his pieces first. The king player can alternate between using the action points of the king and the action points of his knights. So he could use an action point to move this knight here for 1 point, and then move the king for 1 point, then move this knight over here for 1 point, while moving the king back. In regards to the king, he can just use his action points to move 1 space adjacent. Orthogonally, never diagonal. 1 point, 1 space. The king cannot push other characters. The king cannot climb up onto rooftops either. He is always on the street level. A knight for 1 action point can do the same, move to an adjacent space orthogonally. A knight for 2 action points can climb up onto a rooftop space adjacent. And for 1 action point, jump down to 1 space adjacent. A knight for 1 action point can push a crowd. This can be any number of peasants. So in this case, for 1 action point, he could push this crowd, moving them along like so. The only things the knights can move are crowds of peasants. So in this case, this knight here could not move this way. You'd have to wait for this knight to move the crowd that way before he could move. Again, this knight could not move this peasant out the way because the king is in the way as well, and he cannot push the king. So it would be a case of this knight having to push that peasant out the way to get into a good position. A few other restrictions are you cannot push peasants off the board. No, sir. And you cannot push peasants up onto roofs. No, go back to where you came from. Although you can push them off. Some of the round cards have these manacles on them, which means that in this round, the king player can arrest any of the other player's characters, as long as they are standing next to them. So in this case, it would cost me 1 action point, but it would allow me to remove this Lady of the Night from the board, eliminating the possibility of her being an assassin. But this will not work if the other character is on a rooftop. This knight cannot arrest this person up here. Unless this knight was up on the rooftop next to, then they could make an arrest. If an assassin has been revealed, a knight can kill an assassin to remove them from the game. This is a simple case of being in a space adjacent and then using an action point to remove them from the board. But if the assassin's on the rooftop and the knight's in the street, he cannot kill the assassin. The knight needs to be on the rooftop as well. When the king player has finished moving and using all their action points, it's over to the assassin. On the assassin's player turn, they can use their action points to move any of their peasants. To move 1 peasant, 1 space adjacent is 1 action point. To climb up onto a rooftop will cost 2 action points, and to jump down costs 1 action point. Moving across rooftops costs 1 action point. Peasants can only occupy 1 space per peasant, and peasants cannot push other peasants out the way or knights or anything. At any time on the assassin's phase, he may wish to reveal one of his characters as an assassin. He shows the card to the king, and then he replaces that character with an assassin character. Once revealed, that character can do different actions. Moving from 1 space to another costs 1 action point as normal. But climbing up onto rooftops only costs 1 action point. Jumping down from rooftops costs nothing. An assassin, when next to a knight, can kill the knight for 1 action point, removing him from the game. It is also possible for an assassin to kill 2 knights on 1 turn, if he is adjacent them both. To kill one would cost 1 action point, but to kill the second would cost you 2 action points, totaling 3 action points to kill 2 guards. And yes, you can kill or arrest people on the street level even if you are on the rooftop. But the objective of the game for the assassin is not to kill the guards, it's to kill the king. If he's in a space adjacent to the king, he can spend 2 action points to make an attack on the king. This attack can be from a rooftop as well as in the street, as long as he is adjacent to the king. The king player will turn over his king token to say that he has been injured. If he gets attacked a second time, he is dead, meaning that the king player has lost. The king will also lose if he's not arrived in the castle after the last action round card has been turned over. This is his last chance to get to the castle. If he doesn't manage to do it in this turn, he loses the game as well. The assassin player will lose when none of his assassins are left on the board. They've either been killed or they've been captured. So to sum up the King and Assassin, it is a board game that everybody should find deceiving as an assassin in sheep's clothing. Yes, I was deceived by this game. It, at its core, feels like an abstract game. It is a one player against another player and you're moving pieces to complete your objective. But the thing is, you have two different objectives. There is the assassin player who's trying to kill the king, and the king who's trying to just make it home, which gives the game a kind of nice asymmetrical kind of feel. And when you play either side, there is a different feeling, because as you're playing as the king, you're trying to deduce which of these guys is going to try and kill you. Whereas if you're playing the assassin, you're trying to bluff, and you're putting pieces in places that are, going to be key to you. Maybe you make that character move 3 spaces deliberately and waste 3 of your action points just so the guards go over to him and arrest him, where it creates a hole for an assassin to run in. There are really, really nice subtle strategies in this very simple gameplay. As I said, it feels like an abstract. It's simple like an abstract. You're just moving pieces. All the actions you'll learn pretty quickly, and it comes in handy, this very, very useful reference sheet. Although after about your 3rd or 4th time playing, you won't need it because it is very simple to learn. The theme comes through incredibly. This game feels like Assassin's Creed the board game. It's a shame that it's not called Assassin's Creed the board game, but I think that if it was, it would need more players. It is just so intense, and there are different strategies. I thought this game was going to be limited because it is just this same thing of going back and forth, but the fact that you've got 2 sides of the board and then you have these 2 different roles, but then again, the way that you play the roles. I mean, I've been playing this game a lot with my daughter recently, and she has surprised me with some strange strategies which seem to kind of almost work sometimes. Like revealing all your assassins at the same time and then putting them in a key position and then stabbing people off, instead of just keeping your assassins hidden and wait for the king to walk right past them and then stab them in the back. Loads of different ways of just playing this very simple game. The fact that it's asymmetric will mean that you will probably play this game twice before deciding if it's good or not for you, because you will play as the king and you will play as the assassin. You will not play as the same role over and over again. Although, if you're playing with children, you might find yourself playing the king role a lot because they will want to be the assassins, because they find it fun hiding from you and sneaking up and stabbing you. So this game kind of really appeals to the abstract gamer because of its abstract feel, but it's draped in this wonderful dark medieval theme, which it fits really nicely. The art style is very nice. The components are, they're standees, but it works because it's a 2-player game, and so your standees are going to be stood like that. So you're either going to see that side, or if you're on the other team, you're going to see that side. You're never going to see that. So standees, yeah, good quality. The board is nice quality. These are nice quality. The cards and the rulebook do a very, very good job of explaining the game with lots of nice pictorial images to explain the rules on pushing and what all the components are. So you will understand it after one read through very, very simply. Although I will say, finding the starting positions for the pieces can be a little bit hard on the eye, looking for those X's and those dots. Sometimes you will miss one and be frustrated for 2 minutes as you try and find it and you're checking every square. So I mean, they could have been clearer or a different color, but apart from that, good production. Going back to the theme and the art, I'm glad that they went with this instead of some abstract game where you had playing pieces like the king was a crown and then the knights were, I don't know, horses, like in chess. And it would have been just a kind of smooth moving board game. So that is nice that they went with this. It kind of really appeals to me now and it makes sense. And as you can probably tell, that this game is definitely one that I would recommend, and I enjoyed this one. This one's definitely my cup of tea, and we've been playing this a lot recently, as I said. It's really enjoyable. It's really light. It's a nice filler game. Unfortunately, it is only 2 players. It'd be nice to see a 3-player or 4-player version. Maybe these versions would have, you would know that this player was the assassin controller and this player was the king controller, but you wouldn't know what the other players were doing if they were going to be on a particular side. You know, they might have some extra guards in disguise, or they might have some extra assassins in disguise. That would be nice. Talking about expansions, there are so many things you could do with this game expansion-wise. Apart from different boards, you could introduce different roles. Maybe there'd be a bodyguard which has double the hit points of a normal knight. And maybe there's a special assassin who could run across rooftops quite easily. So it'd be 1 action point to move 2 spaces across a rooftop. So that would give them that kind of Assassin's Creed stealth of slipping in, stab someone, jump back on the roof and run away. And the knights can't get to them. Lots of possibilities for expansions for this game. Not sure if that's going to happen, so don't count on me for that. But if not, I might introduce a few pieces from another game and make up my own special rules. Lots of nice ideas. Really enjoyed playing this game. I'm not going to waffle on any longer. Really recommend King and Assassin. That's why I give it an 8.5 out of 10. If that interests you, you should go and check it out. So I'm going to finish off by saying thank you very much for watching. I hope you found I hope you found this video informative and pointed you in the direction of whether this is a game that you should own and spend your money on or not. Give this video a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to subscribe to it. Go and check out my website, boardgameseverybodyshould.com, and also if you want to help support my show and help finance what I do and give me more time to do stuff, you can go to my Patreon there, Board Games Everybody Should, and throw a few pennies and maybe I'll throw some promos at you. Or if you like soundtracks, I can throw some soundtracks at you because I do a raffle for soundtracks as well. So there you go. Thanks for watching. I'll say ciao for now, and remember, please play nice with each other because it's the best way to be. Just sitting at the table next to Felicia would be quite nice. Wouldn't it be good? I got some board games.